there was an interesting wave of this one thing that happened in the hiking world, which is kind of weird. So hiking and camping, people, if you're out in your motorhome, you're making a coffee. But if you're backpacking somewhere, it gets harder. And a lot of people over time, they just brought instant coffees with them, boiled water, and poured it in. I don't know if it was 10 years ago or somewhere around there, but suddenly at all the sporting goods stores, you could buy like cappuccino machines and little machines with a little candle underneath and presses. And it's like, wow. It's like, what a trend.
There was a French company called Handpresso.
Oh, okay.
Many, many years ago. French. Has to have an Italian mother, but it was a French company. I can't believe they would do something like that.
Yeah.
But they created an attachment. It looked like a bicycle pump that you would pump with your car. So you need right pressure and you need the right water temperature, right? So they created this Handpresso, and you can have a little cup of water. You had a cap on it. You could put either ground coffee in it, or you could use pods, which are single serve espresso, easy serve espresso. So you put that in, you would click it, and then all of a sudden you shoot it, and it would make you an espresso. The gadgets that have come out for people to go camping and have coffee has been crazy.
Yeah,
it is. There's some that have CO2 cartridges where it's like a gun, and you put your coffee in and you crank the gun, and it literally shoots the injection of air into the espresso over the hot water. My biggest buyers, you ready? Yeah. My biggest buyers were the ski teams.
Really?
The ski teams, they would always travel. Yeah. And so they would have their Handpresso with them that they could carry and be on the chairlift.
Yeah. Wow.
Making a shot of espresso right on the chairlift as they're going up. It's crazy.
That starts to sound a little extreme.
Some people... Now, if I was to do that with a glass of wine, would that be a problem?
Or scotch?
Well, they did. It was the animal skin that you set on top of the bench, right?
Yeah, so, I guess that's true. Wow.
So people have the coffee flavor.
Yeah.
They have the itch, the twitch that they want to have on there.
It's interesting. I have friends that don't drink coffee at all. I have friends that drink way too much, and it's funny that the friends who don't drink, they'll say something like, "Oh man, if I even have one Coke, I'm vibrating all day on 35 milligrams of caffeine." And then there's these other people drinking 400 or 500 milligrams of caffeine in a drink.
That would be me. I can drink a lot of caffeine in the morning, but then there's a breaking point where I'm like, okay, now I'm feeling a little bit shaky. I think we're gonna have to hold off now.
Yeah.
So, and as you get older, it's a little bit less, more and more kind of idea, right?
Yeah. There was it was very interesting. I kind of researched coffee a lot, or mostly it's caffeine, not so much coffee. And the U.S. military did this monster study on caffeine that went for years, and they were studying how do you keep soldiers, awake during combat operations, and weirdly, there's an altitude impact for caffeine. Oh, the higher you go in altitude, the more impact it has. I may have that backwards, but I'm pretty sure the higher you go, the more impact caffeine has on your system.
Okay,
it's a really strange chemical reaction.
I can see that because there's a lot of people too that caffeine doesn't really affect them. Yeah, there's a lot of people that can have it, and they can have it before they go to bed. Yeah. I'm limited at certain points where I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, that may be you get used to it, or like caffeine does have this. You need more and more as you go, and then there's kind of a point where you start to lose your mind, and you have to come off of it.
That's like mate. So mate, which is really quite cool, is that mate is South American product. They do it in a husk kind of idea, and it's also treated like a tea kind of idea. Yeah. And it has the properties, but what's really kind of cool is that with coffee, your body starts to metabolate the coffee quite quickly, and it's absorbing it, and then you have these crashes. Right. Because now all of a sudden your body doesn't,
because then it's gone.
That's right.
It leaves. Yeah.
But with mate, it kind of, your body absorbs it, and then when your body is saturated with it, it stops absorbing it. Huh. And then it kind of gives you more of a natural, all day sustaining, so you don't need as much. I used to be drinking a lot of mate at one point because it was really quite herbe mate, and it was fantastic.
Really? And it's a coffee bean?
It's not a coffee bean. It's actually, it's like a leaf. It's like a tree. Oh, okay. And then they take the leaves off. Now, in South America, what they do is they take the leaf, and then what they do is they take some of the bark and some of the leaf, and then they break it, they cut it, and they put it in a smoke room, and they smoke it. No way. And they dry it out that way. and then they take it and then they put it in bags. And then what they do is you add hot water to it, and then they put it in a husk, and then they crush it, and then they drink it with a straw.
Wow.
And it's a cultural thing. So it's almost like passing the hookah,
really,
for them. So they'll sit in a room and they'll all drink from the husk and add water, and they'll,
that right?
Yeah. And it's a social thing for them, and South Americans for that. So yeah.
I feel so removed from some of this stuff.
Well, yeah, there's so much you need to know, and then so much you get privy to, or that people want, and sometimes you got to try to be an expert for everything, and it can get overwhelming.
Yeah, it's fun. I think I even to the point where I think it's funny when people have their mug. They have to have their mug. It's like, wow, you have a problem.
Well, that changed during COVID because a lot of people couldn't use their mugs anymore.
Oh yeah,
you weren't allowed to bring it in,
mug.
right?
Yeah.
We do some of our corporate customers.
Yeah.
They have equipment that is on site where they're using their mugs and so on and so forth, and that had to be like, nope, we're using one cup size, and this is a disposable cup.
Right.
And so all of a sudden that all changed. Environmental wasn't an issue anymore. Now we're just using paper cups, and you're not allowed to use a reusable cup anymore, right?
Right.
So,
well, I think and it's interesting because you bring up the corporate side of the coffee world, and in some ways, maybe alcohol is a social lubricant. I think coffee's the business lubricant. Maybe, I don't know, but like, what's changed in Calgary? Like, maybe it's over the last 3, 4, 5 years where we've had a very significant downturn in what goes on corporately downtown in Calgary. But what do you see? You have a different perspective, maybe.
I do. So I'd say about good 8-10 years ago, a lot of the oil and gas, a lot of the corporate structure was how do we keep our staff in the office, and what can we offer? And so they're always trying to offer a better product or an offer to satisfy their employees, because a lot of the employees want coffee, or they want, a tea or items or bottled water or a pop or something. And so a lot of them were leaving the office. And so a lot of the bigger companies are saying, okay, how do we keep our staff here, but how do we create a more inviting environment, and so on and so forth. So they came in and started to change the game by adding a higher grade of coffee. Some do a loose tea program. Some do a full beverage plan where they have, alcohol, spirits on site. Like, it's a total world of, and I think it's part of that Google world where everybody's offered something, out of the norm. And so they started to do that to keep the staff, and they found great success with it, because now you have Betty that's maybe going down to the Starbucks and she's standing in line, and Joe's, standing in line as well, and they're waiting in line for 20 minutes and they're not talking to each other. But now all of a sudden you've got this environment where you have this oasis, you have this space where everybody can congregate, and all of a sudden you've got the same products that you would use at a Starbucks, or a machine that's giving you the same quality product as a second cup or any other location. Now all of a sudden that's a $5 drink.
Yeah.
Now guess what? I'm not standing in line and I'm getting a $5 drink, and all of a sudden Joe and Betsy are all standing in front of the machine, and there's conversations being had and discussions, or getting together and they're sitting on site in the office doing that, right?
Yeah.
Now, that has been the trend. And then when COVID happened and everybody went home, all of a sudden now people are at home, and what they got used to at work, now they need it at home.
Right.
So at the very beginning of COVID, just when everything was starting to die down, there were people that were coming to me and were like, okay, I'm done. I need a machine, and I don't care how much it's going to cost.
Sure.
I'm tired of waiting in line for an hour at Starbucks in the drive-thru trying to get an order for my entire family. My daughters, my kids, my wife, we're all that's a $50 charge.
Yeah.
I don't care. Sell me whatever you got.
Yeah.
So it was great. Now everybody's coming back to work. There's not a lot of employees. Some of them are not coming back. Some are coming back. And some of them are losing some great minds. And so now they need to step up the game now. Okay, how do I keep that mind here? I don't need to lose it. So we have to change the environment, and now they're morphing again into something new again. So it's really a revolving door for some of these big organizations.
Yeah,
really is,
and they're trying to reimagine what that environment's going to look like for them too. So
yeah, some offices are mandatoring, you have to be in the office at least 3 times a week, and then twice whenever you want, or they're trying to create a different environment that is allowing to be more flexible.
Right, but they haven't mandated caffeine intake yet. You have to take it.
No.
You need to have 200 milligrams half an hour before you start working.
No. The biggest challenge for big corporations or big companies is that it is an expense.
Right.
That you don't see the results.
Sure.
You don't see the return on the investment, right? So if your coffee program is costing you $3,000, $10,000 a month, you start thinking about, okay, hold on a second, are we getting the benefits out of this? But you don't see it. Mm-hmm. So for them, it becomes an ongoing expense, and then the person that is making those decisions to have that product there really has to try to create why that works and what does that look like, right?
But having employees standing in line in another building during work time, probably not the best use of their time either.
No. For sure. I mean, the Shaw family, Julie Shaw, she is a visionary, and when they had changed their building downtown, she started to create a new world of her environment of creating these neighborhoods where everybody can be inclusive and working together, and an open concept, right? Like she had gone down to the Google, the Pixars of the world, and see what their environment is all about, and how do we create that same vibe here. So when she was getting ready to start revamping all of Shaw Communications across the country, she was creating that new vibe in that new world, and so now you've got all these neighborhoods, but now with COVID, no one wants to have these neighborhoods. No one wants to have them. They all want their cubicle again.
Right. Yeah.
It's
separate. Yeah, we went from. Yeah, it's been an interesting roller coaster, that one.